I'm chasing after them instead of doing damage. And that's something we've been seeing a lot of good teams do, and in a very mobile drone heavy meta like this, it's a very important skill to have.
And that goes back to rule number 1 from the commentator booth, which is always be applying damage, and they weren't, whereas Coven was.
Good rule.
So. Yeah, it's a good rule.
It's a good rule. But that is one of the drawbacks to drones is time on target. You know, you have to consider they have a huge attack bar, but when you switch targets, those drones have to travel a long way sometimes. And especially the heavier drones are slower, so it takes a while to cross the field and get there. And that really can affect a team versus one that can apply instant damage with turrets or even slightly delayed damage with missiles. So.
Yeah, my sort of approach to the tournament now would be like bring smart bombs and go fast. It seems to be
it's developing.
It's
We've added a layer now to the.
We can tell that the next thing you're going to learn if those are your first two, bring smart bombs and go fast. The next lesson you're going to learn is don't go out of the arena. So
we'll get there.
We can already see the progression.
Yeah, it's building into a proper meta.
Now the next match sees Circle of Two versus Outbreak. Dot. Circle of Two did not get a match last weekend because they were set up against Code, who were disqualified from the tournament. So we don't really know what they'll bring.
Yeah, I mean, they've only had the one match so far total. This is an interesting match because it's two teams that both have great tournament histories. These are two teams that have both won silver medals in the past. But they're also teams that haven't been all that impressive in the last couple of years. So they may be working really hard to try to regain some of that old glory.
Yeah, I think Outbreak in particular over the past maybe 2 or 3 years has gone through sort of a typical drop in activity, and I think they've really picked right back up before this tournament. So I'm cheering for them. That's also going to be my prediction by the end of this. But I really would like to see them come back strong because they do have such a good history with the tournament. So
yeah, I don't know. Circle of Two having that weekend off. We were talking about fatigue earlier and how many matches some of these teams are going to have tomorrow if they get through here and so forth. But I think having that weekend off leaves you a 2-week gap between the first match when you got your game face on, you're mentally prepared and ready and part of it, and to go a full 2 weeks before you do it again, it's really, there's a potential there for you to lose your head of steam, to lose the momentum you carried into that first match, and I mean, it could be a struggle.
And especially considering that they didn't win their first match in the first weekend either. Yeah. So that's a lot of time for you to maybe overanalyze the mistakes you made, to focus too much on that. You don't have the chance to kind of bounce back more quickly. So it could be an issue.
Alternatively, though, it means that they had no pressure whatsoever. They got to sit back and watch all the matches. So all day they sat there with a cup of coffee and were just like, oh, this is good. We'll write these down. Whereas if we were about to pilot, we'd be focused on that, and then typically, once that's done, you might watch a few matches, but you're about evened out if you've had a couple of really good fights. So that really is a benefit. In real time, they got to sit around and take that time that they were going to spend on the match. So hopefully they got some really good analysis done. And
could certainly go either way.
If not, I hope they at least partied hard the night before.
So
the two options.
The bans for this silver level match is Ishtar and Rattlesnake for Circle of Two, and Outbreak have banned the Tengu and the Loki.
All right, so we've said it before, we'll say it again. Tengu Loki means you don't want to face a Shield Tinker. And the Shield Tinkers have traditionally been the best Tinkers out there. They have a much stronger tank on the central ship, usually a Tengu. The repping ship is kind of a vulnerability for the armor Tinkers, less so for the Shield ones. And so it means that there's a number of different setups that don't want to face that, but it might indicate a relatively low DPS team, a team that is trying to win by maybe evading damage, but doesn't apply quite as much.
The Ishtar Rattlesnake, because it was the first two bands. That's we don't want tons of drone damage. I mean, we've seen that one before, and I'm sure we'll see that one again. It's pretty common, 2 bands. So
that does leave the Gila open though.
Sure.
Right. So Ishtar Rattlesnake is a little bit weird, I think, because the Rattlesnake has more in common with the Gila in terms of sort of a synergy for the meta. If you're not going to use sentries, then the Ishtar isn't terribly appealing, quite frankly. So
the one thing that may suggest the Rattlesnake Ishtar ban is actually also a more kiting team, because although we did see Rattlesnakes fail against kiting teams just earlier today, if you put cruise missiles in them, combine that with sentries, you actually do hit these kiting setups pretty well, and so do sentry drone Ishtars.
Going back to time on target again, your drones aren't chasing anything. Sentries sit still and shoot. So.
It's also a question of whether good synergies have been banned out. I mean, you may be able to bring a Gila, but what else does it synergize with?
As we've seen a lot.
Yeah.
It works
just
great
throwing
with
out the
a nightmare or a nightmare. Sorry.
Yes, let's go with that.
No,
I like
sure.
that.
You actually
Nightmares.
it works as well with a nightmare as just about anything.
I don't see any of the incursion groups on here, so I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to see any nightmares. But the beauty of it is it's range independent damage on a shield bonus resisted hull.
Yeah.
Or shield resist bonus hull. There are so many places you can put that, and the great thing is it fits really well with Tech 2 shield resist. So things like the double shield command ship plus 3 Gilas is amazingly strong, and quite frankly, like I think it is going to be sort of the equivalent of the Sleipnir Rush, and that it's a comp that you have to get comfortable with, because even if you don't intend to fly it and you intend to ban the Gila, understand why it works, because we've seen it a lot and we're going to keep seeing it. Every time Gilas aren't banned, I think you're going to see Gilas and shield command ships.
I think it's pretty likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the point I was trying to draw out of you guys. I'm not that stupid.
Well, we had to make it dramatic. It's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
show
of course.
if we
Of
all
course.
agree on stuff, so we got to make
Would
it
it
seem
be
like you're
awesome
wrong.
if it was nightmares though?
If it is,
It wouldn't work.
yeah.
I
that'd
love
be
them.
great.
I love nightmares. We have
pretty.
2 nightmare. I think there are 2 nightmare flagship nightmares in the tournament.
One
Is
of them
there
died
really?
already.
Eh,
didn't
one
they?
of them died already.
Yeah, I think.
If there's one in this match, I'll go jump in the harbor.
We will
That'd
hold
be
you to that.
cold.
I won't actually do that.
The harbor is literally over there.
Well, you know,
You can
directions.
go that way and get to the one by Harpo, though. Right? Is that way?
No, Harper is
I
that.
think this is,
This is Iceland. If you walk in any direction long enough, you're
Eventually
going to
you'll
run into
hit water.
water.
There you go.
yeah.
Qualities of being on an island.
Yeah, it's great. I brought all my beach gear, and turns out that's yeah.
There's one man-made beach that's open between 11 and 5.
On
How do
like
you
2
open and
days of
close
the
a
year.
Beach?
They pump hot water into it.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have
This is
everything.
Iceland. Yeah. Again, hot water is free here, so
Yeah.
they just like dump it into the ocean. It's great.
Why wouldn't you? Wow.
Yeah.
So about these teams.
I think
Yeah.
the things you learn when talking about spaceships.
Yeah, no, that was really eye-opening.
Yes. So 2 second place holders facing off against each other. One of them has to come out on top. And as we say that, it was whispered into my ear very delicately.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Are you trying to say the match is ready?
Yes.
Yes.
The match is ready. Let's go.
September 13th, the EVE online gaming event. Hashtag EVE_NT. Be there or be a douchebag.
Ruffin tips it away. You better believe it, baby!
What you give to this empire, I shall give back unto you.
My nerds, welcome back to the action. We have 2 more unusual teams coming in now for the Circle of 2 versus Outbreak match. We have a... Ooh, I won't say quite yet. Elise, tell us a little bit about these 2 teams.
All right, so this is kind of, at least Circle of 2 is kind of doing a throwback team. They've got a double Macarial core with like an assault frig wing. So they've got like a 2 battleship core and then just a fleet of assault frigates that go out crazy. Outbreak, meanwhile, went with a 2 Geddon core, lots of newts and stuff, but they've got tons of Celestises, and their core isn't really frigates or anything. They've got Navy Vexers to apply the damage, and Logi frigates and these Inquisitors for the Outbreak side.
I mean, I think it's going to be very dangerous because that fleet of assault frigates will be able to tear apart those Inquisitors. I mean, that double Celestis component is going to make the Macarial's life really, really difficult. If they get some range damps on them, Macarials don't really want to come in very close, especially to those Geddons. And look, we already have the damps, as I say, going to the Macarials and the Guardian, actually spreading across the whole Circle of 2 team.
Yeah, they're actually just burning straight at each other. They don't care. They actually warped in at opposite sides, so they're max range from each other where they want to go. Outbreak is throwing all of their stuff against, looks like a Navy Vexer. And these Outbreak Geddons have been pinned down by these Ishkars and Wolves. So you can see they're scrammed, they're not moving, and this is the perfect tactic for the Circle
Yeah,
of
I
Two
mean,
team.
that was the deal with all the old AF teams. You'd get some really hard to kill tackle on the ships you didn't want to move around, either to keep them in place for your DPS or to keep them away from things you didn't want them getting close to.
Yep. All right. So Circle of Two is going after these Navy Vexers. Pretty good choice, I guess. But these Inquisitors are keeping them up a lot more than I think they thought that would happen. Meanwhile, Outbreak is going after this Mac, and this Mac's not doing too good. It's got a Guardian helping it, but
at the same time, you know, they're dropping an Ishkar, so maybe the rep's being focused on the Mac, and at the same time, you know, they get a few things to shoot the Ishkar, and they're just taking away that AF force as quickly as possible. A Wolf now, the Wolf of GigX, one of CO2's leaders, now taking a lot of damage. You know, these damps are still being spread rather beautifully. The Mac's still taking damage. I mean, I don't think this Guardian quite knows what to do here.
yeah, this Frigate Wing is very smartly going after these Inquisitors. They realize they can't break this Navy Vexer without killing these Inquisitors first, so that's what they're doing now. They're not falling too much. Meanwhile, Circle of Two, they're about to lose a Mac. Like, this is the worst trade you can make.
Yeah, an Inquisitor for a Mac. I mean, I do like what Circle of Two are doing in that they have their primary webbed and tackled ready, and they've got another target that they're ready to go to in that Vexer Navy with the web on it. But as you say, losing a Mac for Inquisitor, they've already lost an Iskar.
Okay.
Like, Outbreak are a severe advantage here.
Inquisitor, number one, finally down. There's still a second Inquisitor, but this Mac's gone. Circle of Two lost so much of their DPS. Obviously, these frigates do quite a deceptive amount of damage, so it's not the worst situation for them. And wow, okay, I take it back. Mac's living in structure.
Whoa.
He's living to win super hard. Look at him run, boys. Look at him run.
I mean, one of the things about this Outbreak team, they're very, very damp heavy, but look at the DPS CO2 have. Look, Wolves, projectiles, no cap usage. Heretics, missiles, no cap usage. Macs, projectiles, no cap usage. All the DPS is not being turned off by these guns, and the Mac finally goes down. They can start working on something else.
Really quickly there. A Mac, a Vexer Navy, and the second Inquisitor down for Outbreak side. I don't know. I think Circle of Two, even though they're behind on points, I think they're going to do it.
You know, their Logi's still alive. It's being muted and damped pretty heavily.
Their Logi just got tackled, so this is actually pretty bad for the CO2 team. But
looks like we got a web on an Outbreak Vexer Navy, so CO2 are going to try and take some more of their DPS off the field. Looks like they don't care about those newts, as I mentioned before. They're largely leaving the Armageddons alone. They've left the Celestis alone, but it looks like damage is split across the CO2 team here. Outbreak really need to rally and decide what they're doing.
Yeah, this Navy Vexer is falling. This is the ship you want to kill right now, this Navy Vexer. Somehow the CO2 Guardian went to the beacon at 0 and is just sitting on top of the Geddon. I think that might have been a mistake on his piloting part. Maybe he just wanted to take a picture with him because they're besties or something. EO's down, Navy Vexer down.
Yeah,
Lots
I mean,
of stuff's exploding.
If we look at the DPS that's left, Outbreak have 2 Geddons worth of what I assume is drones. I mean, you're not really going to fit turrets on a Geddon. You've got an EOS, which can do a lot of DPS, but then you've got a Carriers and 2 Celestis. On the other side, CO2 still have 3 Wolves, an Ishkar, 2 Heretics, plus a Mac. That's a huge more amount of DPS, and you can see that in the reflected bar. It just happens to be the case that we can see how much the attack bar for Circle 2 is filled. They're not applying much of it.
Yeah, so CO2, even though they're behind on points, I think they're strongly winning this match right now. They've got 1 Mac. They're all super mega damped, which is really not what they want. But their Guardian's living a heck of a lot longer than they expected. And let's see, so this Karis for Outbreak's taking a little bit of damage. Celestis is going down at the same
Guardian
time.
of CO2 suddenly going into structure. That thing got blapped. I'm not sure what's doing all that damage to it, but it is in super danger zone.
Yeah, it's going to go down, but I think it's still a good spot. Like, all the drones managed to catch up to the Guardian. He's sitting on top of it again. The Geddon's not letting him go. Geddon down. Carries down for a trade.
Well, I mean,
know.
I was surprised they would still have enough DPS to take him out. Maybe, you know, they just finally got his newts out. So this is now a fight of still no Logi versus no Logi now. Looks like one of the Celestis got popped. Looks like they probably go for the next Celestis, but then they're going to have to burn through the really tanky Geddons and the really tanky EOS. The Mac is kind of tanky, but I think now it's going to be a question of can the EOS and the Geddons, their only hope is if they can apply DPS to very small ships, which, let's be honest, those big ships aren't very good at.
This Mac is... These damps are really screwed this Mac over. He is now sitting on top of a Geddon. He's tackled. The newts don't screw him over too much, but if he has any local tank to speak of, it won't work.
Oh, yeah.
His guns will still hit, but man, this is not where he wants to be. He's in half armor right now, and he's not taking much down with him.
Both these teams do have a little bit of active tank light. We can see from the defense bar. I'm assuming that's probably an AAR on the EOS and then an XII on the Mac, but it is now going into deep armor. It looks like it'll be dropping soon. But I mean, the support wing of CO2 is looking pretty, and I think it is gonna get them the match.
Yeah, it's really tricky right now. It's just a matter of how much this Mac can live and how much damage CO2 can do while their Mac is alive. They're gonna finish this Celestis off. Jeez, this is pretty tricky. The Geddons actually are pretty. Let's see. They've got rep drones around them, so the Geddons pulled some of their damage to kind of save themselves a little bit. And I think that was long enough to kill this Mac.
There goes the Mac. Yeah, I mean, if the Geddons are just carrying, rep drones, if the Geddons don't have a flight of lights, and, why would you put a flight of lights in a Geddon?
Oh, yeah.
Like, their mediums and larges aren't doing anything against Frigs, so just pull them back, put out your rep drones, help your EOS as long as it can, if your EOS is carrying the drones you need to kill those CO2 Frigs one by one.
Yeah, CO2's got to be kind of sad right about now. It looked like they had it. They had it for so long, then they finally lost it. These Geddons are being really resilient. CO2 is going after the Outbreak EOS.
Yeah, but these frigates are being muted by the Geddons, right?
I don't know why they came in super close. They had all you have to do against the Geddon is kind of kill the drones and kite away. They decided to do neither.
Yeah,
and,
losing a
they're paying the
heretic.
price for it.
I mean, the Geddons are smart bomb fit, so that's going to mitigate a lot of damage from the remaining Ishkur. It's going to possibly firewall the heretic missiles away. Wolves are going to have a very difficult time putting DPS on it, but I think Outbreak are just going to keep this point advantage. I mean, we've only got, nearly 2.5 minutes of the match left.
Yeah, this is actually really amazing. I have no idea how this is happening. They have 2 Geddons and an EOS. They've never gone over 100 meters per second in the last 2 minutes, and somehow these fast assault frigates are getting murdered, like right on them at 0. This is the weirdest, most bizarre thing
Maybe
ever.
they're playing chicken with each other. Who can get the closest to the Geddon?
Well, they all lost. So it looks like CO2 is now without a hope, and there's 2 minutes left, but there's no way. They've got this EOS 60% armor, but they've got a heretic that's about to die, and a wolf. What are these guys doing? Why are they all sitting next to each other?
We believed in you for a while. We believed, and you let us down. You let us down, CO2, frankly.
So in the Battle of the Silver Medalists, Outbreak is the victor, unless something really crazy happens. I mean, okay.
Unless, we have seen MJDs go off.
We have seen strange things happen before. But this would have to be like the biggest throw of all the throws. They would have to MJD out of the arena with every
This would be the double rattlesnake throw, like on an equivalent level that we saw in the first weekend.
So it looks like CO2 is eliminated. Do you think the Max, do you think the Max could have been replaced by something else?
I'm not sure. I mean, I like the Max in that they're kind of very new resistant in terms of guns, but I mean, what else are you going to run in that setup? I mean, maybe, I guess you could run, say, Barghests might be a cool idea.
That would be kind of crazy. We've traditionally seen Vindicators in this role.
Yeah.
Maybe they could have gone with double Geddons themselves and just had a better mirror.
I mean, you could even have done something like a triple EOS or even maybe a Startaze. Use that assault frigate wing, tackle what you want down, bring that big Galente heavy DPS on top of it, and you'll possibly do really well that way. The Max aren't mega kitey because they're battleships, but they also aren't mega close range.
Yeah, but these were armor Max too, so they were a little bit slower than the shield Max.
Yeah, still it looks like the final heretic is going to go down at last with 30 seconds on the clock. It's in structure, it's neutered out, no prop mod left by the looks of it. And there we go. So that's it, Outbreak continue. CO2 sadly have to go home, so we'll send it back to the analysis desk.
Totally my jam.
Go for Tower, it's free for all.
It's honest. They're all equal.
This It's not as bad as the earlier ad, but it still makes me feel uncomfortable.
I love it.
Welcome back to the set. That was an exciting match that we forgot to make our predictions for, but I'm the only one who lost, so nobody cares.
Yeah, I think most of us were choosing Outbreak there, and they did the job. Newt Victor. When you can get two Geddons on top of stuff, they
Right.
kill things really
Or
well.
more importantly, when stuff gets on top of your two new Yeah.
So, Macarials.
No.
They don't seem to be in as much as they were last
Well,
year.
yeah, the thing about Macarials is they have all this really great stuff that you look for in a battleship in the same way that a Navy Dami does, is that you can fit utility, it's got great damage, and it's got really good speed, which it makes it interesting to use in maybe a shield setup, but in an armor setup, your speed is not going to be too helpful if it requires you to leave behind other parts of your core, like in EOS and also the Guardian inexplicably still showing up in matches where the Oneros isn't banned. So I feel like using an armor mobility setup is not very strong, and just they don't offer the utility for the points put into them, basically. They can be effective, I just don't think they're the best investment. I think there's always a better choice than Material.
But if you're arm tanking too, you're using your low slots. One of the advantages the Material has is the ability to project damage to range with the turrets.
Right,
But you generally want the maybe tracking enhancers in the low slots. Like I said, go tracking computers in the mids, but you're not maximizing your use of the range without a
You're
tracking.
not maximizing?
I like it.
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah, come on. I'm on the board now for puns.
Armor mechs do tank surprisingly well, but I think it partly comes down to that pirate battleships, other than the Rattlesnake, just are hard to justify for the points.
Yeah,
Rattlesnakes do a great job in the tournament environment because they have these weapon systems that are so good for the tournament arena size. Like cruise missiles are awesome for it, and drones are awesome for it. And they can't also be tracking disrupted and have some resistance to damps, and like there's a lot of good things about them. But all of the other pirate battleships have been doing pretty poorly. We saw the Vargas manage to lose a match, the Rattlesnakes losing. Vindies haven't done great. There hasn't been a lot of Balgorns actually. Like a lot of teams chose Balgorns as flagships. You'll notice those are the flagships that haven't been being brought out. Like the people with the Geddon flagships are actually using them. The people with the Balgorn flagships, I think a lot of them are probably just fake flagships to try to bring the other team in a different direction in their predictions.
I have nothing to add to that. That was just perfect. The next match is Almost Awesome Dot versus No Holds Barred. I marked down Almost Awesome as my my prediction. I shouldn't go into the bans before I do this. I know all this. I don't know about you guys. So Almost Awesome have banned the Gila and the Ishtar, and Noho has banned the Geddon and the Rattlesnake.
So that's a lot of the drone boats.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of both of the big drone battleships that we're seeing kind of a lot. Yeah, with the Rattlesnake and the Geddon. Yeah.
Both of these teams have been showing us stuff during the last 2 weekends, like impressive stuff.
Yep.
What do you guys think?
I really like NoHo. I think I'm impressed by the fact that they kind of came within at least throwing distance of challenging Hydra, and that is something very notable. And the setup they brought last weekend was overall solid. It missed kind of the key vulnerability to ECM, but other than that, they came in with a good plan. And I think they've just been kind of demonstrating that they are kind of a solid all-around team.
Yeah, and interestingly, no Tinker bans out for them, so that should be interesting. But I don't really know much about Almost Awesome as an alliance at all. I definitely know who NoHo is, but I will say Almost Awesome has a great name. It's simple. It's not even off the wall. It's just a really solid name. So if they can plan that far ahead for their alliance name, I think they can also take this match.
You've got me scared now by saying that no Tinker bans. We're going to see a Tinker v Tinker, and it's going to make me cry.
This is going to be your dreaded match.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So I think NoHo. I think they've done pretty well. Like you said, they were just like one module off of challenging Hydra there.
One very important module.
And I don't know. I think they're going to be the ones to do better here. So.
But both teams have a potential of bringing something that we don't expect. Like we are getting into like we've been in the elimination bracket for the entirety of the day. These teams are facing elimination, and when you're up against big names such as NoHo and I mean, Almost Awesome have shown stuff too. They have an awesome name.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to bust out the secret.
Yeah,
Oh,
bring your
absolutely.
unbeatable setup.
Yeah, no, obviously.
When you're back to the wall, you'd have to do it. And I'm surprised we haven't seen more flagships today, but we've seen a couple.
Well,
but you know, your back is to the wall here. You need to you play your best card.
Yep, definitely.
I think I'm interested to see what teams they bring, because the Armageddon and Rattlesnake ban is actually, I think, a really effective pair of bans, because it almost pushes people into like a more evenly distributed setup, command ships and cruiser DPS, which quite frankly is really, really tough to fight, because you have to hunt down every single one of them. Your DPS is a little more distributed, so I think like armor VNIs are an option here. I don't know, a lot of the comps that are good but not top tier are opened up by these bans, so I'm kind of excited to see that.
Was it NoHo that banned the Rattlesnake and the Geddon?
Yes.
I mean, Rattlesnake and Geddon are two ships you don't want to face if you're bringing the same setup NoHo brought last time. The Marauder plus Tinker. Because Rattlesnakes have the potential to do a ton of damage against Marauders. And Geddons, of course, are problems for Tinkers.
Right.
Not necessarily as much as like some of the smaller ships that have faster cycling newts, but still it can be an issue if they spread it. So yeah, I mean, that's something that at least Almost Awesome has to be keeping in mind and considering that they might be bringing that out again.
So the match is ready. So we can just check it out. See if they added that extra ingredient that might make the recipe magical.
Almost Awesome is just going to be all ECM.
So let's go over to the commentator booth and see what's going on.
Alright guys, welcome back to day 5 of the 12th Alliance Tournament. I am Elise Randolph, joined by Apothony, and we've got some really fun, explodey looking teams coming here. We've got Almost Awesome in a Balgorn and Vindicator with Navy Vexer and 3 Kitsunes, just chilling. The Balgorn and Navy Vindy came in at 0, by the way. And meanwhile, No Holes Barred have a triple Sleipnir Scimitar team with some Vexers, a Moa for support, because why not, and some Jaguars. The cool part is these Sleipnirs came in at 0 right next to this Vindicator and Balgorn.
Well, it's interesting to see Almost Awesome throwing out kind of the popular assertion that Damp's the best Eeyore. You've got 3 Kitsunes, massive, massive, massive jam potential, but as you say, those Sleipnirs are straight at 0. Looks like the jams are going straight on to the Sleipnirs, actually mixing across anything now. We've got webs, the Vindy is webbed, but both Sleipnirs are also webbed. So they are going to have a really tough time. They're going to be neutered out by the Balgorn, and they're going to have an insane amount of DPS on them from